Welcome back to a new lecture on ISBP 745. In this lecture, we will cover paragraphs A19 till A26. A19 is the expressions shipping documents, stale documents acceptable, third-party documents acceptable, third-party documents not acceptable, exporting country, shipping company, and documents acceptable as presented should not be used in a credit as they are not defined in UCP 600. If nevertheless they are used and their meaning is not defined in the credit, they shall have the following meaning under international standard banking practice. Means these expressions are not to be used in a credit, but you can see it is very often used in LCs. So what is the meaning of these terms or these expressions are discussed further, provided the meaning of these terms are not defined in the LC. If in LC, if there is a definition for these particular terms, then that has to be followed. If not, then the following meanings will be applied. First one is shipping documents. All documents required by the credit except drafts, teletransmission reports, and courier receipt, postal receipt or certificates of posting evidencing the sending of documents. For example, in field 47A there is a condition. Right? Beneficiary has to send one copy of non-negotiable shipping documents to the applicant within 7 days of shipment. In this requirement, what is shipping documents? That is what discussed here. All documents required by the credit means whatever documents required as per field 46A of the LC forms the part of shipping documents except draft, because draft or bill of exchange is a financial document, so that is different. And teletransmission reports, of course, that is not included because that won't be called for in field 46A. And courier receipt, if courier receipt or postal receipt or certificate of posting is called in the LC, for example as a transport document, then that also will form as a part of shipping document. But if it is called to evidence the sending of documents, then that also won't come into the part of shipping documents. So this is the meaning of shipping documents. Now the next one is stale documents acceptable. Means documents may be presented later than 21 calendar days after the date of shipment, as long as they are presented no later than the expiry date of the credit. This will also apply when the credit specifies a period for presentation together with the condition stale documents acceptable. First of all, what is a stale document? Stale document means a document presented after the presentation period, right? Let us say a LC provides the following in field 46A. That is simply stale documents are acceptable. Means the documents are not subjected to any presentation period, right? The presenter is obligated to submit the documents before the LC expiry only. He is not obligated, or these documents are not subjected to any presentation period as per UCP 600 article 14C, that is the default presentation period. Also, if in LC, if there is any presentation period specifically mentioned, that also won't be applicable, right? Similarly, let's say in field 48, that is period of presentation is given as 15 days, also stale documents are acceptable. Here as well, although there is a period of 15 days is mentioned, as stale documents are acceptable is mentioned, the documents can be submitted at any time before the LC expiry. There is no obligation on the part of the presenter to submit the documents within 15 days, right? Because stale documents are acceptable statement is there. That is the meaning of stale documents acceptable. Next one is third party documents acceptable. All documents for which the credit or UCP 600 do not indicate an issuer except drafts, because we know draft must be issued by the beneficiary, may be issued by a named person or entity other than the beneficiary. So third party documents means what? A document which is issued by someone other than the beneficiary. So if the LC is stating third party documents are acceptable, then a document issued by someone other than the beneficiary is acceptable as far as for that particular document either UCP 600 or the LC itself does not indicate the issuer. For example, an invoice must be issued by the beneficiary as per Article 18 of UCP 600. So even though third party documents are acceptable, it doesn't mean an invoice can be issued by a third party. Also, we know, as given here, drafts can also be issued only by the beneficiary. It cannot be issued by a third party. Next one is third party documents not acceptable, has no meaning and is to be disregarded. Logically impossible, right? Because all documents cannot be issued by the beneficiary himself. So such clauses will be simply disregarded, right? Next one is exporting country. If the term exporting country is used in a LC, then it can be any one of the following: the country where the beneficiary is domiciled, the country of origin of goods, the country of receipt by the carrier, or the country from which the shipment or dispatch is made. The first one is okay, where the beneficiary is located, right? Next one, the exporting country can be the country of origin of the goods. That also okay. But the next one, see carefully, the country of receipt by the carrier. Sometimes the carrier may receive the goods in some country and may be shipped from some other country. This happens generally in case of a multimodal transport or transshipment. For example, the place of receipt of the goods may be Benapole, Bangladesh, and the port of loading may be Kolkata seaport. In this case, which is the exporting country? Obviously, Bangladesh, right? Even though port of loading is in India, the actual place of receipt of goods by the carrier is Bangladesh. So, exporting country should be Bangladesh. Apart from that, the exporting country can be the country from which shipment or dispatch is being made. So, this is the definition or the meaning of exporting country when this term is used in a LC. Next one is very important: shipping company. When used in the context of the issuer of a certificate, certification or declaration relating to a transport document, any one of the following: carrier, master, or when a charter party bill of lading is presented, the master, owner, or charterer, or any entity identified as an agent of any one of the aforementioned, regardless of whether it issued or signed the presented transport document. Listen carefully. Shipping company certificate is a commonly used term in a LC. For example, in document circuit field, certificate issued by shipping company stating that the carrying vessel is not more than 20 years old. Now, who can issue this certificate? That is the discussion here. Such certificate can be issued by the carrier or master or their agents in case of a bill of lading. When it comes to a charter party bill of lading, the owner or charterer or their agents will also come into picture in addition to the master or his agent, right? Because in charter party bill of lading, carrier won't be there. Now, the next question is, let us say the bill of lading was issued by the carrier, means signed by the carrier. Whether the master can issue such a certificate, that is the shipping company certificate, the answer is yes. That is what discussed in these 3 lines. Regardless of whether it means the carrier, master, or the charterer or owner in case of a charter party bill of lading issued or signed the presented transport document, right? Means not only the master, let's say the bill of lading was signed by the master, even the agent of the master can also issue the shipping company certificate. In case of a charter party bill of lading, let us say the bill of lading was issued by the charterer or signed by the charterer. Even in this case, the master can issue the shipping company certificate. That is what these 3 lines means. So note this very carefully. Many banks used to raise discrepancy for this particular case. For example, if a shipping company certificate is signed by a party other than the issuer of BL, actually it is not a discrepancy. Now the next one is documents acceptable as presented. Means a presentation may consist of one or more of the stipulated documents, provided they are presented within the expiry date of the credit and the drawing amount is within that which is available under the LC. The documents will not otherwise be examined for compliance under the credit or UCP 600, including whether they are presented in the required number of original copies. Means, let's say there is a clause in field 47A, insurance document is acceptable as presented. In this case, insurance document will not be subjected to any checks as per Article 28. We will accept the document as complying, provided it is presented on or before the expiry of LC. If the clause is mentioned like all documents are acceptable as presented, then to comply under the credit, all documents must be presented before LC expiry. That's it. Apart from that, those documents will not be checked as per UCP 600 or SBP or anything, right? But the thing is, any amount mentioned on any of those documents must be within the available amount under LC. That is the only condition. Apart from that, it won't be subjected to any articles of UCP 600 or ISBP, right? The next one is issuer of document. When a credit requires a document to be issued by a named person or entity, this condition is satisfied when the document appears to be issued by the named person or entity by use of its letterhead, or when there is no letterhead, when the document appears to have been completed or signed by or for or on behalf of the named person or entity. This para states how an issuer of a document can indicate their name on a document. For example, LC requires an analysis certificate issued by ABC Private Limited. In this case, either the entity can issue such a certificate in their letterhead. So it is understood that ABC Private Limited issued this certificate. Another way is they can indicate in the signature, let's say for ABC Private Limited and authorized signatory. Here as well, we can understand the issuer as ABC Private Limited. So in either of these ways, the issuer can comply under the LC. Now the next one is language. When a credit stipulates the language of the documents to be presented, the data required by the credit or UCP 600 are to be in that language. For example, in field 47A, there is a condition all documents should be in English. In this case, the presenter cannot submit a document other than English because LC specifically states document should be in English. But do you think it's possible to present a document only with English? That's not possible, right? So remember, this condition is applicable to the data that is required by the LC, that is the credit or UCP 600. For example, in field 45A, that is in description of goods, it is mentioned as, let's say, 100 yards of cotton fabric. This cotton fabric is in English. This cotton fabric should be there in all the documents submitted if it is there, because this is required as per the credit. If they mention this cotton fabric in some other language, then obviously it's going to be a discrepancy because we don't understand, right? So if the data is required by the LC, then that should be in English. Another thing is, as per article 22 of UCP 600, a BL must indicate the name of the carrier, right? That is the data required by the UCP 600. So carrier also should be mentioned in English. If it is in other language, that also going to be a discrepant document. So remember, this is applicable only for the data as required by the LC or UCP 600. Now the next one is when a credit is silent with respect to the language of the documents to be presented. The documents may be issued in any language. When a credit allows two or more acceptable languages, a confirming bank or a nominated bank, acting on its nomination, may restrict the number of acceptable languages as a condition of its engagement in the credit. And in such a case, the data contained in the documents are only to be in the acceptable language or languages. Right. For the first one, remember, if there is no conditions in the LC about the language of documents, then the documents may be in any language. Right? The issuer cannot raise a discrepancy. But the second case is, let's say you are in a nominated bank and you are receiving one LC which has to be confirmed by your bank. But the LC mentions the document should be in English or French. But as per your bank policy, documents presented in English only is acceptable. In such a case, confirming bank is having the full rights to restrict the language of documents as only English, so that to add their confirmation to the LC, right? They can add a condition like, we will confirm the LC only if the language is restricted only to English. In similar case, let's say if the nominated bank want to restrict the acceptable languages in the documents prior to negotiation, they can restrict the same. But if they fail to do the same, then they have to accept and examine the documents in all the acceptable languages as per LC. So first one, if LC is silent, then the documents can be of any language. But as per this case, if the LC restricts the languages of documents, then the documents has to be of that language. But in this case, the confirming bank or the nominated bank is having an option to restrict the languages of the LC which they are receiving, provided they are having an internal policy. And in this case, the confirming bank or the nominated bank can restrict the number of acceptable languages as a condition of its engagement in the credit. So this is all about languages. Now the next one is when a credit allows a document to contain data in two or more acceptable languages, and a confirming bank or a nominated bank acting on its nomination does not restrict the language or the number of acceptable languages as a condition of its engagement in the credit. It is required to examine the data in all of the acceptable languages appearing in the document. This is quite logical. If they have not restricted, then no choice, they have to check the documents as per the languages allowed in the LC. Next one is banks do not examine data that have been inserted in a language that is additional to that required or allowed in the credit. Means the banks will examine only the data required under the LC. They don't check any other data which is not required by the LC in any other language. We are not concerned about that, right? Next one is notwithstanding paragraphs A21A and D, the name of a person or entity, any stamps, legalization, endorsements or similar, and the pre-printed text shown on a document such as but not limited to field headings may be in a language other than that required in the credit. This we have discussed already, because it is not at all possible to present a document in 100% English language. Let's say the language as per LC is English. Generally, a document issued by the government of a country, let's say a certificate of origin, right? It used to contain many data in their official language. For that and all, we cannot raise a discrepancy. If the data required as per our LC conditions is complied, then it's okay. The document can contain other data in any other language. That is none of our concern. Next one is mathematical calculations. When the presented documents indicate mathematical calculations, banks only determine that the stated total in respect of criteria such as amount, quantity, weight or number of packages does not conflict with the credit or any other stipulated documents. Means when there is a calculation using a formula to arrive at a data required by the credit, banks will only check whether the data required by the LC is complying. Banks don't check whether the calculation is correct. We can't raise a discrepancy that the formula is wrong, because we want the data like let's say the total amount or the total quantity of goods or weight as required by the LC. If that is there, then the documents are complying. There is no need to sit and check the calculation is correct or not, or the formula is correct or not, right? Next one is misspellings or typing errors. A misspelling or typing error that does not affect the meaning of a word or the sentence in which it occurs does not make a document discrepant. In this para, we have to note this phrase does not affect the meaning of a word or the sentence. So, there can be a typo in a document, but it should not change the meaning of the word or sentence. Some examples are discussed further. For example, a description of the goods shown as machine instead of machine, fountain pen instead of fountain pen, or model instead of model would not be regarded as a conflict of data under UCP 600 subarticle 14D, because as per subarticle 14D, for example, in one document it is mentioned as MASHINE. If it is mentioned as MACHINE in some other documents, then that is a discrepancy because it's a conflict of data. But for the small typo errors, that is not a conflict of data. However, a description shown as, for example, model 123 instead of model 321 will be regarded as a conflict of data under that subarticle, right? Because in all of these cases, we can understand, okay, this is the meaning of this word, although there is a mistake in spelling, but this is altogether different, right? Model 123 and model 321 is not equal, that is entirely different. But in this same case also, let us say instead of machine, if it is mentioned as MHINE, then that is a discrepancy because there is no phonetic similarity between the words. So in normal course of business, we should be able to understand the meaning of that word even though there is a typing error. In that case, we can accept it as a complaint. If not, then it is a discrepancy, right? So the next one is when a document consists of more than one page, it must be possible to determine that the pages are part of the same document. Means let us take the example of a bill of lading. A bill of lading having more than one page, let's say 3 pages. In such case, in any of the way, it must indicate that the other pages as well form the part of the same document. For example, it can number the pages like 1, 2, 3, that is sequentially numbering, or it can mention like 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3, right? Like that, it must mention. That's why it's mentioned as it must be possible to determine that the pages are part of the same document. But unless a document provides otherwise, pages which are physically bounded together, means if stapled or stick together, and sequentially numbered, means 1, 2, 3, or contain internal cross references. Let's say in one page of the bill of lading, it is mentioned that please refer the next page for onboard notation, it is mentioned like that. So here is a cross reference in the first page about something in the second page of a document. If that is also there, then we will consider both pages as the part of same document. However, named or titled means the title can be anything, as we know already, will meet this requirement and ought to be examined as one document even if some of the pages are regarded as an attachment or rider. Sometimes BLs used to mention there is an attachment or rider on their first page. That also doesn't mean that it is a different document. Next para is also about a document which is having more than one page. Right? When a signature or endorsement is required to be on a document consisting of more than one page and the credit or the document itself does not indicate where a signature or endorsement is to appear, the signature or endorsement may appear anywhere on that document. Means LC requires a signed document, but the document is having more than one page. In such a case, the signature can be anywhere in that document. It's not necessary to be in the last page or first page. It can be anywhere, but it should be signed. But let's say if the LC states all documents should be signed on first page or all documents should be signed on the last page, then that should be complied. But we have never seen such LCs because as a LC issuer, they don't know which document will be of how many pages. So usually LCs won't be issued like that, but all documents will be signed as per their designated field. It won't be signed in all pages as well, right? Next one is non-documentary conditions and conflict of data. When a credit contains a condition without stipulating a document to indicate compliance herewith, non-documentary condition. Compliance with such condition need not be evidenced on any stipulated document. This is same as we discussed in Article 14H, right? Means what is a non-documentary condition? If there is a condition which is in the LC, but there is no document to indicate the compliance of that condition, we will consider that condition as a non-documentary condition because no document is called for to evidence the same. But there is some addition in ISBP, right? That we will discuss further. However, data contained in a stipulated document are not to be in conflict with the non-documentary condition. For example, when a credit indicates packing in wooden cases without indicating that such data is to appear on any stipulated document, a statement in any stipulated document indicating a different type of packing is considered to be a conflict of data. Means there is a condition in field 47A that the packing should be in wooden cases, but there is no document has been called for in field 46A to evidence the same. Means it's a non-documentary condition. But let's say in bill of lading, there is a indication that the goods are packed in carton boxes. Now this is a discrepancy. Why? There is a conflict of data. Although this is a non-documentary condition, there should not be any conflict of data with this non-documentary condition in any other document. Right? So remember, we can ignore a non-documentary condition as far as it is not in conflict with the data in any other document. If there is a conflict, then it is a discrepancy as per Article 14D of UCP 600. So by this, let us end this part. In the next lecture, we will start with A27. Thank you all. We'll meet you in the next lecture.